Good evening, and welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities. Presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, serial entrepreneur by night, 6-time best-selling author, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, and founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLC. Tonight we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Sharai Robbin. Sharai Robbin is a Simon & Schuster's best-selling author, speaker, celebrity ghostwriter, professional editor, and CEO of Good Ground Literary Services. Along with her dedicated team of professional literary badass editors, Sharai has turned her love for language into a six-figure author, coaching, and publishing business with her proven book writing strategies and intimate hands-on support from the babes. Sharai and her team help aspiring authors and influencers use their stories to leverage their brands, fuel their dreams, and share messages that impact the world. Welcome to the table, Sharai Robbin.
Hello. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to have you at the table, and I know you're going to share some amazing wisdom and knowledge with my guest. So would you please tell us more about your entrepreneur journey?
Oh, boy, where do you want me to start? It's so many layers to it. So I guess technically I began being an entrepreneur in 2013, but started full-time after I left my job in 2015. And that has been it's been an incredible and trying feat, but it's a wonderful process. And I think that I'm very fortunate to be able to have been a nerd. I've been a writer since I was 8 years old. So I'm blessed to be able to say that my entrepreneurial journey has included the things that I've always been passionate about. And I think that also is what allows me to be successful as an entrepreneur, is that I do what I love to do. So that's the bare bones of it. About my journey.
I love it. So Sharai, you are very passionate about helping others tell their stories. So please tell us more about your passion.
Well, I've been a writer, since I was 8. I fell in love with writing when I was 8 years old. I read a poem by Nikki Giovanni called Ego Trippin'. Changed my whole life. And at this point in time, at that age, I was at that time in my life, I was 8, and I was a latchkey kid. So I caught the bus home from school every day. And we had this major move, my mom and I, from one part of Philadelphia, it's like West Philly, to another area called Logan. And I knew, and I always was a reader. So, but on my bus ride home, this was before cell phones and everything like that. I'm dating myself, but there was books. So I read books all the time. And I remember reading or going to the library to get a book to read for my bus ride home. And I found this book of poetry, this collection of poetry, and Ego Trippin'. I mean, it just rocked my world. So at that point, for me, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I want to write books, and I want to be a writer, not necessarily books, but I want to be a writer. I was so impressed by the way that Nikki Giovanni was able to use language to evoke such meaning, and how you were just so confident after reading this poem. And I was like, I want that. I want that for myself. I want people to feel that way when I write something. And that really started it for me. And then as I got a little older into high school, I started to edit for other people, and I was an editor on the school newspaper, and that really became a major part of my life as a freelance editor right after high school. So writing has been a part of who I am, even on to my master's degree in English and composition studies. So I love it. I think that there's power in words, and the words that we choose and how we choose to use them. And I got a chance to see just the difference, with what when I went to school for my master's degree, I'd already had my deal with Simon & Schuster, and I had so many opportunities in front of me, and I could have gone on to teach it at a college level. But I realized that there were so many people, so many aspiring authors with manuscripts on my desk, and their writing hiccups looked exactly like the freshman writing hiccups. And I just had this revelation, like, this is because nobody teaches them. Right. This is because the person who's a business owner for 25 years does not know anything more than the freshman who came in at 18, because no one taught them. So let me teach them. And that's really how I got to live. That's how Good Ground really got the legs under it, my business, and was really just desiring to help people write well.
I love it. That's that one opportunity, right? And open up so many doors. And that's for our listeners. I hope you're listening because it doesn't take but one opportunity to open multiple doors. And so what are some strategies you would give to new authors, Sharai?
In particular, there's a lot of options. So what particular strategy?
So for that aspiring author who is looking to write a book and, right now, they keep putting it off, but they know they need to write the book, right? What's some strategy you would give to that listener?
I can give you a ton of strategies, right? So here I can give you strategies and techniques and templates and tips and resources, and I can give you a whole lot. And I've given my clients hundreds of things and thousands of opportunities. But the only people really who are successful as writers are people who sit down and do the work. So, a tip to stay organized, a tip is to make sure you have an outline to refer back to. But the number one thing that's going to change whether you're talking about this today or you're finishing this in 6 months or still talking about writing a book 5 years from now is the dedication, is the actual commitment to it. Writing a book can be a long process or it can be a quick, efficient process. We've done it in as little as 90 days with some clients, but it's all based on the client's level of determination. So as an author, how bad do you want it? Everyone loves to say that they're a writer because for some reason you get this image and this idea of this lonely process and, you slaved away for 20 years and you produced this manuscript. So there's like this pain that you paid to community because you're a writer, and it imagines you or puts you in this picture where you're just writing all the time, but you're not producing anything. So if you want to be an author, if you want to finish your book project, dedicate the time to it. Say that you're going to be published this year. Break it down into manageable chunks. Instead of trying to write a book in a weekend, let's knock out a chapter a week. I think that a lot of people go into it the wrong way, not realizing how much work is required. So they have, very unrealistic perspectives going into it. So if you just kind of understand that it's going to require work from you, it's going to require hours of writing, it's going to require revisions from you, but you have to stay the course if you want to get done. That's the best thing I can advise you to. Sit your butt down and write.
I agree. Sorry, you just got to get started. You have to just get started. So why is telling your story so important, right? Because I think some people, everybody has a story. And, you never know whose life you're going to change. You never know, what type of door that will open for you. So why is it so important for listeners to share their story and tell their story?
Well, there's a host of reasons why. Essentially, let me name a few. And being able to tell your story, one, it gives you power. If we talk outside of the financial aspects of it, being able to take ownership of your life experiences, it really stops people from being able to hold things over you, right? So I have clients often who are like, oh, I don't know if I want to share that. And I go, well, if you don't share that, then that's something that you're like always hiding, and it's something that people are afraid of instead of owning it. Like, yeah, that's who I was. That's the mistakes that I made. Those are the things that I did. But let me show you what I learned from those mistakes. So it allows you to be to take to be in the driver's seat when it comes to your actual story. And as a writer, you recognize that there's only one person who's going to be able to do your story justice. As a ghostwriter, I do a heck of a job, but it requires, hours, and I mean a lot of hours with my clients. But at the end of the day, there's only one person, and I do my absolute best, but at the end of the day, there's only one person who is going to capture your voice, who is going to say it like you're going to say it, who's going to choose the words like you're going to choose the words. And I believe strongly that there is someone somewhere who needs to know, who needs to know that what you've been through, that what they're going through, you've been through. I think that especially when it comes to nonfiction, people are presently today, more often than not, looking for answers. So if you have those answers, if you've been through something, life experiences, and you can share that information, then you can really change somebody's life. And you can bless them in a way that, sets them up to make better decisions. It sets them up to, to be more confident in life. So it's a blessing to other people. And I also like to think that you don't get to hold on to it for you, right? You didn't go through the testimony and the hardships and the trials just for you. You went through it for somebody else. If you believe that or not, we live a life of servitude, of giving and sharing with others. It's a part of who we are as human beings. And I think when you accept that and walk in that and own that, like, I know that this thing can help somebody, you'll be positioned for continued success as well.
I love that because, you're right. You're going through it for somebody else, right? And that's what we have to realize when we're sharing our story. Even if you just touch one person, you touch a life. And so I've had this conversation with many of people, and I'm sure you have too, because I'm a publisher myself. And a lot of conversations I've had was, why should every business owner write a book? So what are your thoughts on that? Because it does create a platform. It is opportunities that can open from that. And I agree that every business owner should have a book. So what are your thoughts?
I agree as well. I absolutely agree as well. I think that if you're going to be an expert on something, you should probably be the person to write the book about it. I think that, and that's really where it starts. The issue is that people don't recognize when you're a business owner, that therefore qualifies you. It says to the world that you're an expert in that. Like, your stuff when it comes to that particular subject, that particular idea. And as a business owner, that's a resource. A book is a resource and a tool that says to the world, I know so much about this thing right here that I wrote a book about it. And it allows your message to impact people that you'll never meet. There are, I think last year, about 687 million books sold last year. So, it allows you to get in front of audiences that you'll never find. They won't go to seminars. They won't be at conferences. They may not even be on Facebook, but they'll be looking for books. They'll be looking for resources. There are millions of readers in the world. So I think a book really, really helps you. And it gives you, a tool to leverage and to speak from. So, again, even if you are speaking and teaching at conferences, having a book is another additional stream of income, because everyone may not afford to be able to coach with you or work with you, but everybody can take home a piece of you in that $20 book. If you are effective on the stage and you make an impact, people are able to take a piece. So it does a lot, and I watch it happen. It's amazing just seeing, some of the clients that we've worked with time and time again, just by being really specific and clear in their messaging, by being persistent and consistent with what they share on social media, investing in PR, investing in marketing, and the income and impact they've been able to achieve is absolutely incredible.
I love that, and I love your viewpoint on that as well. And I even tell a client, even if you have to start out in a collaboration book, start out there. You write your chapter and then take it over and do your own solo book. But get started, right? Get started. So absolutely. So what is some advice you would give, because I know you ghostwrite as well, so what is some advice you would give to listeners who are interested in ghostwriting services?
And ghostwriting services?
Right. So for those listeners that might be thinking about, I want to write a book, but I just don't have time. So what is some advice you would give to those listeners? Because, they might want to, hire a ghostwriter, or they might be thinking about
Call me. The advice is call me. I mean, in all seriousness, there's I just had this conversation with a friend of mine that all of my, as I sat back and looked at our numbers and things, that all of my ghostwriting clients have been men. All of them, every single one has been a man. And they're amazing. Like, I love all of my clients. We work really, really hard, and they are usually in some good influential position in their lives. And all of my other clients are women who decide, okay, so this is the problem. This is the situation, right? I need a book. I need to get this message out. I need to share it with the world. And so there's an option. There's an option of, okay, you can work with myself, or you can work with one of the bays, and we can teach you how to become a better writer. Right? We can show you how to monetize your message. We can show you how to strip your chapter down and pull out the core content, find the value. We can show you how to put transitions in there, string the story along. We can teach you, and we will edit with you and help you and get you to the finish line, right? That's where most of my women fall. Now, my male clients, this is the issue, right? Well, you want a book. Now, in order to write a book, you're going to have to do these things. You're going to have to outline and clarify. And I promise you, just as quick as the day is long, they're like, no, thanks. You can do that. No, I'm not doing it. And it's the funniest thing to me ever, but just in a split decision, it's not, they don't decide to figure it out, right? I think as women, we're like, I got it. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to get it done. My ghostwriting clients are like, I'm not doing that. I have no desire to figure out how to be a writer, right? That's not my passion. I'm running a business. I'm, traveling 5 days out the week. They were, whatever. But they're doing some incredible things, and they recognize pretty early on that they don't have the time, the skill, nor the desire to learn the skill to get it done. And I think that that's the difference, right, is that if you decide that you want to write a book, understand that it's going to be a process. You're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to learn how to write a book, right? That's what you're going to have to do. That's what that requires, right? Learning how. If you are someone who just wants the book done, right, you do not have that kind of time. And again, think about the leverage that we're considering here, right? There are some people who have to learn how to write a book who are starting as a proficient and fairly decent writers. Then there are some people who are just not great writers, and you need to learn how to you want to write a book. So if you, like, your scale to grow or to be able to go from where you are to, successfully published author is a large leap, then you may want to consider just having someone else go ahead and do that for you. And again, a lot of my, I promise you, a lot of my guy clients, they don't waste 30 seconds. I mean, it's literally like, oh, that's what you do? You do books and stuff, Sharai? Okay, yeah, here you go. You can do that.
Right, because they don't want to do it.
I'm not doing it. It's like, I'm not doing it. So you recognize for yourself, do you want to learn how to do it, or would you rather have a professional take care of it?
Right, and for the busy person that is listening that don't have time, invest in yourself and just have somebody else to do it, and then you don't have to worry about anything, right? It's easy for you.
Yes, and it's funny because I delegate in my business, right? There are things that I look at every day, and I go, oh, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. That's going to take up a lot of time, or I'm going to have to learn that system. I'm going to have to learn that strategy or that flow for this and that. I'm not going to do that. Let me put somebody in a position, or let me hire someone this is what they love to do. This is what you do. You do funnels and here, you're hired. You're hired.
Right. You're hired.
You do graphics and design. You're hired.
You're hired.
Right. So,
yeah.
So when
I
you recognize that, you ain't got to do it all.
With that. Yes. You have to know your place. You have to know your talent, and don't be afraid to delegate.
No, or you'll be trying to do it all by yourself.
Right.
And again, when writing a book, I think that I love my ladies too. The women that I work with, there's no shade to them at all, and I watch them grow tremendously. I also think that some of it's therapeutic, right? Going through some of the stuff that they go through in the sessions that we have together, it's almost like therapy. So I think that there's a part of them that wants that too, and I'm all for it because for whatever reason, God is like, you got these talents. You're like, I've always been a pretty tough person, so I listen very unbiasedly, and I'm able to support and still, see value in it. And I think that women need that. Or the women that I've encountered over the last 5 or so years, they need that kind of push and balance and support as well. So whatever you need, just recognize that you don't have to do it all.
Right. You don't have to do it all. And so what are some different ways authors can monetize their books? If you could just share a few for our listeners that are listening.
Sure. Well, the key to being able to monetize your book is making sure that there's valuable information in your book. That's really the very first thing. I can't do nothing for you if there's nothing in your book that tells me anything. So I had a friend a few years ago who and he was so hard-headed. He was writing a book, and we were hanging out, and I was like, hey, you got to make sure you have, it organized. Got to make sure you have these tips and these takeaways in this book process. And he was like, yeah, kind of, because we were friends. So he was kind of like, whatever. And then about a year later, he finishes the book project, and I got a chance to read it. Never asked me for any help, during the process outside of my little bit of advice. And then I got a chance to read it because he was trying to monetize it, trying to do something with it to take it to the next level. And there was nothing in it, right? There were just chapters of things that happened. And so in my mind, I'm going, what is the takeaway? Not in my mind, very frankly, Tim, I'm like, what is the takeaway here? Right? So this thing happened to you from 5 to 8. This is all in chapter 1. And I need to know this as a reader, why? Right? Why does this even matter? And that's, for me, the biggest takeaway that I think writers need to understand is that you are not the hero in your story. Your reader is. Right? If your reader is not winning, if there's not something in there that's connecting to them and their life experience, something that you can then pause for a moment and discuss at greater length, whether it is learning how to forgive at this moment in your life, and we stop there. And then you can talk about forgiveness and the steps you use to forgive, and you could create a forgiveness check sheet, and now you can have a forgiveness seminar, or now you can do forgiveness coaching calls, but it has to be a principle. It has to be something in there that is not just, here's my story, woe is me, here's my story. I think that people just have this thought that I'm going to write my book and somehow, it's going to connect. I'm just going to write it and believe and hope to God that something I say is going to make an impact. And what people fail to realize is that writing is extremely intentional, right? It's so deliberate. Every book that you've ever written has been meticulously designed, right? It is carved out with specific intent to lead you to believe something, to know something. None of it, not a single word on the page is done by happenstance. So as a writer, that's your job, right? That's your job now. You're tasked with that, to write what's valuable, to write with intention. And if you're not doing that in the beginning of your manuscript, then at the end of it, you're going to be trying to figure out how do you market what you've just thrown together. So you start with intention from the beginning. Start with a desire to want to teach from the onset of the idea, and craft that, into your manuscript. And that helps you turn it into more. Right, turn it into teaching workshops and seminars and workbooks and journals, and it doesn't hurt to have an editor like me or myself, or any of the literary babes that also help you see value in what you're doing. I think people often think that you have to wait till the end of the writing process to get with an editor, and you don't. You can work with the developmental editor very early on, and sometimes I see things that my clients don't see. So I have one client who actually shot. She's hilarious. She shot her husband. And I was like, that must have been crazy. I was like, that's craziness. I can't believe you did that. She's like, I know. I'm going on this I have this event. I got to talk about my thing. And I was like, you should tell him you shot your husband. And she was like, what? Are you serious, Sharai? I was like, yes. Oh, yes. Tell him that you shot your husband and ask him how many women in the audience have been that level of crazy. Right? Like, I think you should start there. She was like, oh, my God. I was like, and then set up a biweekly call and then have women call in and talk about the kind of stresses and dramas that they've been through where you felt that high, like high on the edge, where you felt that crazy. And she was like, oh, my God, that's a brilliant idea. So sometimes it helps to have somebody else walk you through things in your manuscript to show you your own value points. That was a way for her. There were so many women. She came back like there were so many women who were like, girl, I was about to kill him. I was like, wow. But you can create a support group, for that and encourage women to be honest and give them a safe space to communicate about those things that are troubling them in their marriages or relationships. So yeah, it works. It works that way, but there's got to be need in there. Got to be something of value in there.
I love it. And thanks for sharing those different ways for our listeners that are listening. I hope you all are writing these nuggets down to help you all be more successful, definitely for our authors that are listening and our aspiring authors that are listening. So, Sharai, you have built multiple tables for yourself. So how did you create your seat at the table?
I bust up in there. I learned, in all honesty, I learned how to make the most of my gifts. And I teach this to my clients all the time, too, is to stop seeing yourself one way, right? Stop seeing yourself as this singular entity, and this is all that you do and offer. And so for me, as a writer, right, as the 8-year-old nerd who loves poetry, who still writes, I write regularly. I don't write as regularly as I'd like for myself, but I'm writing consistently for other people. I saw that as initially just all I had available, all I could do. Right out the gate, like that was it. It was just me working. Even, not working for somebody else in a 9-to-5. I was always just working for somebody else. And I decided that I was going to invest in a coach because I was in this new space, right? I was successfully published with Simon & Schuster. My book went right immediately to their bestsellers list. It was amazing. But I wasn't making any real money. And so I said, you know what? This is new for me, this business terrain, right? I got skills. I know stuff. But I don't know stuff about this stuff. Like, this is new stuff. This business and everything is, what am I supposed to do and how much am I supposed to charge? So I invested in a coach. And immediately she saw in me what I didn't see. And I think that's a big thing, when you start working and investing in yourself, that you got a coach who sees you bigger than you even see yourself. Because she was challenging me, and I was like, I can't do that. What do you mean? It's like, $50,000? Am I allowed to make that much money in less than a year? Oh my God, I couldn't fathom it. But that push that agitation against my comfort zone allowed me to see that not only was I good at writing, and that was an income stream and a skill, but I could also teach people how to do what I'd done and teach people the things that I know. And the more that I know and the more things that I do, the more I can teach. And that just grows and turns into an incredible business. So I've done six figures every year as an editor, as an author, and then in my business endeavors as a boss with the Literary Bays and the products and services that we offer as well. So it's continual in knowing that it's not just, hey, I wrote a book by my book, right? If I were still slanging this novel, I would barely be making any money. The royalty checks come in and it's nice and they cool and they pay a little bit of bills, but that's not how I provide for my family. So it's recognizing that, that I am a resource and that I put myself out there as an expert. I continue to share the information that I know. I'm extremely transparent. I try to be as transparent as possible. And I just realized that there are other ways to make money than just book sales, right? It's so much more than that.
Absolutely. And thanks for sharing that. And kudos to all the great things that you are doing. I consistently follow you, Sharai, and you're doing amazing things. So just kudos to you. So we all have a process, right? And it's important for us to embrace the process in order to get to the next level. So what did failure teach you on your journey?
Failure taught me so what? Failure really taught me, and then I've always been a bit of an introvert and like a little nerd or whatever, So I was never the kind of person to put myself in the front driver's seat. I always would play, even now, with my clients, I'm like, I'm in the back cheering, screaming, hollering, but minding my business, right? I'm not in the limelight. And so I had to realize that in entrepreneurship, I had to put myself out there, on a regular basis. And that was pretty scary. But I realized that when things don't necessarily go, like I've launched programs that haven't been successful. I've had events that haven't sold out. Things have happened, but it doesn't stop. I can't say, oh, wow, we didn't do the numbers for this program, so close down the shop. Everybody's, fired. Everybody go home, and I'm going to go get my resume together tomorrow, right? That's not an option in entrepreneurship as a business owner. So failure is kind of like, now really, like failure used to be a little intimidating, but now it's kind of like, let me hurry up and fail fast, right? Like let me mess it. If I don't mess it up, let me mess it up as quickly as I possibly can, so that I can then go back, assess, and regroup and try it a different way. So I'm good with failing. I'm good with things not working out. Sometimes I'm like, God, that was God. Thank you for that not coming to fruition, because that would have been bad for me, realistically. So I try to see the good in things like that. When things don't work out, it's like maybe God was looking out for me in that space. So I look at failure as an opportunity to grow and to learn from, and not to be afraid of it. I'd rather fail fast and then get up and figure it out than take 30 years not doing anything or, afraid to fail.
Right. You got to take those risks, take those jumps, invest in yourself, which is so important. So what did success teach you?
That God is the bomb. Success taught me that really, and I'm a woman of faith, it really taught me that God is always listening, that no matter what it is and no matter where you are in your life, there is something better possible for you, right? And I'm not going to get into my whole life story, with you guys, but when I think people look at me and think, oh, she's got it all together. I have no idea, that I've been through an abusive relationship. I dropped out of college. I was, in jail. I've done some things. I suffered from depression, just a lot of really dark places. And being successful now makes me look back on it and realize that 18-year-old Sharai, that 21-year-old Sharai who was depressed and who was in these bad spaces in life, like no one would have thought, I never would have thought any of this was possible for me at that point in time. I couldn't see it. I couldn't even fathom it. Like, no, right? I was so dark. everything that I'm going through is everything that I deserve because of whatever crazy reason I psyched myself into believing. And now, coming through it, I realized there was a point going into it, and through the process, I realized that the God had big things for me, and that I was worthy and deserved all the good things that God has promised me. So I just anchored onto that, right, onto that promise. And because God has proven himself time and time again, that for me is the successful part, is realizing that it may not always work out the way that I want it to, but it's going to be fine. That I get to dream, at one point I just dreamed of being able to have enough money in my car. In my gas tank to get to work, and God did that. And then I wanted to be signed with a major label, and God did that. And I wanted to be a bestseller, and then that happened. So it becomes this track record of just appreciation and success. So it's now what can I set my eyes on? Because those last 8 things, we did that. Me and you, God, we did that. So what else is there? You know what I mean? What else is there? Which one we do? All right, I can do that. I could do that. Sometimes the things are bigger than me. I'm like, this is scary, but okay, you brought me through all of that, so let's do this. And so, yeah, that's really, for me, success is just equated to my faith and that walk in faith.
Right, keeping him first and submitting and surrendering to him. So thank you for shining light on that, right? And so what is some advice you would, give to, some positive words you would give to our listeners right now with everything that's going on in the world? What are some positive, encouraging words you would give to our listeners?
Stay your butt in the house. First and foremost, stay in the house. It's just surreal to be outside right now. I have to make a market run, and it's insane to see just where we are. But I think that you can't live by that. You can't live by that faith. By that fear of just seeing what's happening, right? And it is scary. I've had some people who are relatively close to me pass away, and it's scary, and I'm an emotional person sometimes, and it hurts, that this is what's happening. But I think that as a mom, as a single mother, I have to try my best to stay grounded. My teenager's like, Mom, it's okay if you're not okay sometimes, and I get it. But I say to people, not to be consumed with what you see, to be overwhelmed with the news reports all the time, that it's okay to take this time to rest. Often we are going nonstop. And if you're one of those people like me, then rest. I'm appreciative that I don't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning anymore, that my children are home, and it gives me just a little bit more time. Or now I don't have to make a choice between, going to the gym or getting, this extra time in with God. So I have just looking at it differently, using your time, making the most of the time that you have. Lay out a plan for your business, for where you want to see yourself in the next 60 to 90 days. The reality is that we don't know what's happening right now, but we know we're coming out of this. Right, this is not going to be what life is like for the rest of our lives. So this is only a hiccup. This is only a delay in whatever is still promised for you. So continue to prepare for the promise. Continue to work every day at it, taking little chips and little steps. Take the course you wanted to take. Involve yourself in the writing program. I'm working with new writers right now in a 90-day program that we start in a few weeks. So there are people who are like, let's do this, so they're committing at this time to work on their manuscripts. So do the same, figure out what it is that you've really been saying you want to do for forever, and do that during this time that we have. And just stay the faith. Stay the course.
This is time for opportunity, right? Utilize these opportunities. Look at the positive side of it. Create opportunity. Take those risks and make a better life for yourself.
Absolutely.
I love that. So what can we expect from you in 2020, right? We're in the second quarter now. What can we expect from you this year, Sharai?
A few speaking engagements that we'll see how those pan out. But right now, the biggest thing that we're working on, myself and the team, is systemization, is, making killer content, taking all the things that we've done over the last 2 years and really just polishing things up and putting everything in a really great structure, so that we can continue to grow. I think, as a business owner, we're doing phenomenally in business, myself and the team, who I would be, half of who I am without the ladies and the bays. But we've been doing really, really good, but there's limits. We needed to be able to grow. So for me, you're going to see a lot of growth, you're going to see a lot more of Sharai Robbin. You're going to see a lot more of the brand. You'll see a lot more online teaching, a lot more products and services that will be rolling out to, simplify the process for people who want to write, and really, making myself and the team very present when it comes to being a resource. We'll continue to be present when it comes to being a resource for writers and aspiring authors, and even to people who are looking to figure out how to become full-time writers. I get people asking me all the time, like, how did you lock in ghostwriting clients, and how do you put packages together? How do you put services together? So we'll be creating some courses and some programs to be able to teach people, how to make the most from what they know.
Absolutely. So thank you for shining light, and for our listeners that listen, make sure you support Sharai, and congratulations on all the great things that I know you're going to do this year and that you're about to birth. So thank you. And so please tell our listeners, Sharai, how they can follow you and support you on all social media platforms.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you again. So you can check me out on Instagram at Sharai Robbin, which is SharaiRobbin. So that's 2 B's. At Sharai Robbin on Instagram, and the same Sharai Robbin on Facebook. Those are my 2 main social media platforms, usually on Instagram or Facebook. I do a lot of Facebook Lives. So check us out there, or check me out there. And then if you're interested in finding out more about my business and Good Ground and what we do, you can check out a lot of our client profiles and things that we've worked on over the last few years at www.goodgroundlit.com.
So make sure you follow Sharai on all social media platforms. She's definitely somebody to know and somebody to connect with. So follow her on all social media platforms. Sharai, thank you so much.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure.
You are welcome for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come to the table. This has been a powerful interview, and I can't wait to invite you back to the table.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me so much. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you again. I look forward to working with you in the future.
All righty.
Thank you. So I would like to give a special thanks to my intern, Sarah, from Tennessee State University, and my intern, Vontaria, from Winston-Salem State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little, and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.